All right, welcome to the Horizon Hustle, everybody. First episode. I'm your host, Reggie Hayes, and the premise of the show is to talk about starting a business. Maybe you don't know who to turn to. Maybe you don't know some of the resources that are available, and that's why we're going to talk about some of these things today. And joining me today in the studio is the lovely Morgan Wittmer. Yeah. All right. Little crowd action there. Settle down, guys. Okay. Yeah. Filmed in front of the studio audience here. But anyway, and first of all, this episode is definitely not sponsored by Zaxby's. And I'm going to tell you what, because if it was, I would tell you just how delicious their chicken really is. So, yeah. Anyway, but they're not a sponsor, but they could be. So Zaxby's, if you're watching and you like what you're seeing, call us. We could always use some more studio gear, a few more cables.
More chicken.
Yeah. So we're starting a company. I have started a couple of companies over the years.
Couple?
Yeah. Well, I actually don't know how many, but you know what? You got to keep going until one makes it, and that's all you need.
Absolutely.
But right now, 3 of them seem like they're doing very well. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the point is the reason that you're one of the first guests on this new podcast here is because you're one of the first people that I've called every time I start something, and it's like, hey, Morgan, I've got this crazy idea. Hear me out. Yeah. And that's because having a graphic designer and a person in charge of your brand designer, I guess, is super important to have. Yeah. Because you've got to have these elements before you have anything else.
Absolutely.
Sometimes when you're starting a company and you're trying to get a product out there, a service or something like that, it's you got to make yourself, appear bigger than you are, or have a product or whatever before you even have it, so that way you can get customers to buy this thing or buy this service. So let's talk about a few things here. Tell me, first of all, about what it is you do.
Okay. I'm a branding designer, branding strategist, and basically I take how you want your business to be perceived by customers, and hopefully, if we're successful, people will see it that way. And that includes how they literally see it with their eyes visually, but that also includes how they perceive you. They need to know, like, and trust you to do business with you. And hopefully, once I'm done, they will know, like, and trust you.
There you go. So let's talk about sort of just the basics here. What's the difference between graphic design and branding? So I know they're similar.
They are similar. Graphic design is basically the visual aspect of branding. Branding is kind of the umbrella that includes your visual identity, which means your logo, your fonts, your colors, everything like that, everything people literally see. But it also includes your messaging, your brand voice, your mission statement, how people literally feel about your business. And branding encompasses all of that. Okay.
So one of those things, people, they'll start a business and say, I need some business cards. I need a website. I need, some print materials, brochures, all these things. But really, you can't have any of that first. Why is that?
Well, it's really best to have your visual identity foundations before you start any of that, so you can be consistent across all of those things and look like a cohesive company.
Sure. It's a big word, by the way, cohesive.
It is. It is a big word.
So some of those things you're talking about are, for example, a logo. You've got to have a basic logo design. It can be something simple. It can be elegant, extravagant. But
whatever your business needs.
Yeah. So you've got to have a logo. And that brings about colors, right? Let's talk about some of those early stages there.
So if you do it right, it's all based in strategy. It's not your favorite colors, which I know is hard sometimes. But you look at what your business is, what they do, how you want it to be perceived, and you have to pick colors, fonts, visual elements that reflect that, and so people can see it that way.
Right.
I mean, if you are a spa and you have really bright red, super funky font, but you're trying to present it as this serene escape from your life, people aren't going to see it that way.
Right.
People are going to be like, is this like a dive bar or something? Like, they're not going to, they're not going to see it the way that you want it to be seen. So if you wanted something like that, you would need some cool blues or greens or whatever you need.
Right.
It's about strategy. It's about positioning. So you look at your competitors, or I look at your competitors, and see what people in the space are doing and how you can stand out, but also look like you belong. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So there's some psychology that goes in some of these things.
There's a ton of psychology. That's what my degree's in. So
really, I didn't know you had a degree in psychology.
Yep, that's my bachelor's.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
So moving on, once we've got some of the foundations laid, as far as the colors and the psyche behind that.
Yeah.
Is that the right word? Psyche?
Yeah.
Okay.
That'll work.
That moves into basically you're allowed to you've got materials to work with. To go into like a website and like I said, I know you don't do websites, right?
I don't develop them, but I do design them. But yeah, development's just not my thing. I don't like it. It's just usually more trouble than it's worth for me in my business. So we hire an outside developer
to know your limits.
Recreate. It's not my thing.
It's hard. I mean,
it's hard.
But you
it's time consuming. So time consuming.
Oh yeah, but you're behind the elements though to it. So you're behind like I said, the color font, the color palettes and the fonts and the elements. I call them elements. Yeah. So that way you can have that consistency across your business card and your print materials and your website.
That's really important
stuff. Very cool. Some of the other stuff that we talked about earlier. So I remember in one of my earlier endeavors, I had a company and I was like, you know what? I just want a simple business card. I don't really want anything elaborate. I don't want anything too crazy.
Famous last words.
Well, but like I remember telling you that, and you came to the office that day and you presented your ideas, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't want something simple, let's go all out. Let's go bigger, let's create something really cool. And I remember that you were a really good sport about it. And you came back with like, just blew the socks off everybody. and I remember that I have put that card in a lot of hands over the years. And I've put that card in a lot of hands of some really influential individuals, or in that line of work. They're very powerful people, very important people that you want to impress. And that card did not disappoint whatsoever. So
that makes me so happy.
Yeah. And everyone would tell me, it had that wow effect.
Yeah. Putting your best foot forward is really important, especially when you're dealing with people who are higher ups.
Well, I remember that one of the things that I told you, I said, Morgan, listen, just take that creative freedom, like have that space, like just, I don't want to give you a lot of input. I want to see what you come back with. Yeah. And I really liked what you came back with. And I feel like, I know how to run a business. I know how to do product development. I don't know graphic design and branding as much now, or I know a little more now, but through you. But let's talk about that. What is it like when you have a customer that says, run with it. Mm-hmm. Show me what you got. Show me 3 crazy options and let's go big.
Yeah.
Talk about that for a second.
That's a great feeling as a designer, to have someone who trusts you and gives you the creative freedom. Sometimes people are very particular about the way they want it to look, or the way they want their visual identity to look. And a lot of times it doesn't quite align with the way that they want the business to be perceived. So having the creative freedom to work from, the basics, like your message, how you want to be perceived, and for me to be able to use that to come up with new ideas is so great. It's so refreshing.
I bet, because you don't want to, I feel like I would be tainting your process if I tried to give you a lot of input. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to limit. Sometimes it's good to say, I want this, this, and this. But then I felt like that it was better off to, and I've pulled you in on a number of other projects, from other people that I've dealt with. I'm like, hey, try Morgan out here. I think you'll like her. But and I remember telling the guys, I'm like, listen, just give her the creative freedom. Let her ask you your direction or sort of what you want to go, but let her have that creative freedom, and I promise you she'll come back with something amazing. And that's been I think when you, like I said, you don't want to put someone in a box or limit what they're trying to do. Yeah. So that was a really good experience in that. Do you want to talk about print materials? Do you want to talk about what that looks like?
Let's do it.
So on the print materials, I know that once again it can be really hard when you've got a product and you're trying to put it out there. You want to put your best foot forward, but maybe you don't have that product in hand yet. Maybe it's in development. And what does that look like from a branding standpoint, or what is it like in the process when you're trying to create brochures and things like that? What do you recommend?
Well,
putting you on the spot here.
I mean, I guess the biggest thing is when you don't necessarily have a physical product to present to people, it's really important to present yourself as a company. I mean, if they can't see how the product is, you need to get them to trust you a different way. And that's being transparent and straightforward with your messaging and let them get to know you.
Yeah.
I would say that's the biggest thing.
How is a customer going to trust you through branding?
So basically, it's consumer psychology. And a lot of times we don't realize why we trust certain companies over others. But a lot of the times it's because one looks more professional than the other. One feels more consistent than the other. One seems bigger than the other. Seems like they put more work and time into the way that they look. And, that's, you could say that's shallow, but there's a little part of you sometimes when you're looking between two different companies to work with, the one that looks like they have more to lose is probably the one you're going to go with. If a company looks like they didn't really put much time or thought into their business or the way that they look, there's a little part of you that's like, well, maybe they'd scam me. I mean, like if they, if they didn't put the time and effort into the way that their business is perceived, what else did they not put the time and effort into?
Oh yeah.
And sometimes that's not even conscious. Sometimes you just kind of have a gut feeling of like, I think I'm going to go with this one. And it's usually things like that. Just little things that you kind of catch and might not even really think about, but it makes an impact on you.
I remember years ago I worked for a company, fantastic experience, and the CEO of that company, he was like a coach to me, and it was really funny. He would call me in his office some days, and we would just bounce ideas.
Yeah.
And one thing that he honed in on was always put your best foot forward. If you don't think that you're not putting your best foot forward, don't do it. Stop and regroup. Stop right there and put your best foot forward. Like it was a really good experience. And even so, just full disclosure here, we actually filmed the first episode of this a few weeks ago.
Yeah, we did.
And his words came back when I was in the edit bay, and it was like, I remember calling you up and I was like, you know what? I don't feel like this is our best foot forward,
Yeah.
you know? And I was like, we've got to have, you know, we can do it better. We can make it look better, make it look cooler, whatever.
Yeah.
And that was really neat. So those words still echo today.
Yeah.
But anytime of whether it's product design, service, but in your materials, everything that you just mentioned, you know, putting your best foot forward, I think was really key with
So important.
everything for starting a business. And that's, you know, I felt like when you were talking about materials, website, and the psychology of everything, you want your customers to feel like that they see you putting your best foot forward.
Exactly.
And even if
It's an integrity thing.
right, but so like if you're going up against big companies with a product or whatever, even if your best foot, your best effort, we're going to say is still a little bit below, you know, where some of the big guys are, you know, your global companies or whatever. That's okay. It is totally okay. Because you just mentioned this and it made me think of that. It's totally okay for a customer to see you as a small company or just starting out, and that's fine. And they'll give you a shot.
Oh yeah.
But you got to have their trust. You said trust earlier.
Exactly.
So yeah,
You got to show them you mean business.
yeah.
No pun intended.
Now, one thing you had mentioned before is intentional branding, and let's talk about that in terms of what we just said with competing with the big guys here. What is intentional branding?
Well, intentional branding, I would say, is having full control over how people see your business. Because no matter what, no matter if you brand it on purpose or not, you have a brand. Your brand might be inconsistent and unprofessional. That sounds harsh, but that's how people might see your business. So no matter what, your business is never brandless. You always have a brand.
And an image.
Exactly. You always have an image. You just want to make sure people are seeing what you want them to see.
Right.
And that, I think, is intentional branding. It's intentionally controlling how people perceive your business. It's having the control.
You know, one thing that I think is really good as far as branding or is influencers.
Yeah.
They have a very interesting, you know, their face or their personalities are their brands. You know, we talked about that earlier. You know, what were some of the, I can't remember some of the things we were discussing about, but they were like such really good, like some of your better influencers out there are really good. They understand the concept of branding.
Oh yeah.
And from early on, even if they have to adjust as they go along.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, with an influencer, they don't have a product they sell most of the time. Their brand is themselves. So you've got to have a certain amount. I mean, you know, even if it's not intentional, the way that they brand, some influencers, they have a brand.
So you don't even have to have a product or a service to be a brand.
No, absolutely not.
That's good.
I mean, I guess their service is just entertainment, but
digital creators, they call them.
Yeah, content creators. They're creating content, but you don't have to have a physical product at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. So, it's been, I remember some of my college days when we were doing a rock show, and it was really funny because we hadn't filmed the first episode yet. And it was one of those things where I was like, okay, well, we need to get posters. We need to get the word out that we're having this show, you know, and we want people to come and watch us film.
Yeah.
But you know, we don't have it figured out yet, you know, and that was my first run in, which I guess was a good time in college to figure it out. But like, you know, it's really difficult to start something when you don't have anything.
Yeah.
And sometimes that may be a product, a service, or maybe money. It could be funding. It could be a number of things. But luckily, branding doesn't have to be expensive.
No, it doesn't have to. You don't, you just need the foundations. Once you have the foundations, you really can work with that for a while. But once you have your core identity, your messaging, your voice, your visual identity, your colors, your fonts, whatever, you can do a lot with a small amount of stuff.
Yeah. So one thing that I have encountered over the years, you can have a product that goes global and reaches a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Or you can have a company where I think one of them, my companies had 5 clients.
Yeah.
5 customers. Now they were big customers. They were very big companies. Mm. They had 5 at any given moment. And I think my entire Rolodex for that company was like 8 people. So I think that's where some of that you've got to be important. You've got to look a little bit bigger than you are, comes into play, because you could be reaching a lot of people and you need to reach a lot of people and present well, or you could be reaching 8 or 5 very important people that are detrimental to your operation. Mm-hmm. And so
there's more pressure on those people when you have fewer. I mean,
it's a small world, you know, and in that particular industry, people talk to each other, mm-hmm. and a lot of these industries are smaller than you realize. Yeah. I know with Blue Horizon, we're in the solar industry, mm-hmm. and that is different because it people talk, mm-hmm. people know everybody. Mm-hmm. You would think that it's a global thing, but when you start really running into it, we're dealing with stuff in Africa or Ghana or whatever, and you're like, oh, so and so's over there, and you're like,
oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah. So it is super important, like I said, to make a good impression, mm-hmm. From a branding perspective, even if you think no one's watching, or going to see it, it's just a business card or whatever, but it matters.
Oh yeah. Branding is basically, your brand is how people talk about you behind your back. Mm. I mean, it's how people talk about your business is your brand. What do they stand for? How do they perceive them? What's your vibe? What's your whole deal?
Right. And graphic design is different than marketing.
It is.
It's not the same. You get a lot of people when you're starting a business, they want to help you marketing. They want to help you with, AI. They mm-hmm. want to help you with a number of things.
Great and important. Yes. But it's not the same.
Right. But your graphic design comes first. Before anything else, it has to come first. It's important.
Yeah. Your branding.
And you said earlier that it was essential for scaling.
Oh, it's super essential for scaling.
How so?
I mean, if you want to scale your business and compete with bigger companies, you have to look the part. I mean, you've got to look at least as big as the people you're trying to compete with. Mm. So if you're trying to scale, I mean, that's what you've got to do. Absolutely.
Well, is there anything else along the way here that we've missed? I know we're kind of at the end of our notes here.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
I can't really think of anything.
All right. Well, guys, thank you very much for watching and or listening. If you're listening on the audio version of this, and happy to have you guys along. And so Morgan Wittmer, everyone.
That's me.